Everybody, please welcome our guest for this evening. He needs no introduction, Joe McGann. How are you, mate?
Hello. I'm pretty good, Dan. Thank you very much. Pretty good.
How is it over there in Liverpool? I'm guessing, is that where you are at the moment?
It is. I'm at home in Liverpool, yeah, and it's sunny. It's nice. It's a nice spring day here. The garden's coming on. Sort of the flowers are just coming out. It's looking good. We've got apparently a mini heat wave coming here. It won't be the
Whoa.
kind of heat you have in here, but we'll be up to kind of they're saying about 30 degrees, which for this time of year is really hot for us.
Yeah.
So
Bit like Melbourne down here in Australia, just sort of
yeah,
always
that
raining,
kind
eh?
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever been down here before?
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been down to Brisbane and Sydney. I the last time was about 5 years ago.
For
I
work?
Yeah, it was for work. I was doing I was going on the cruise ships. I do kind of lectures and talks on the cruise ships, but also I once
Ah.
there's a friend of mine who moved there from here who wanted to produce some theatre shows. And so I took a few days to kind of go over and see them and talk to them and have a little kind of look around. It was the second time I've been. It's a long way away, but beautiful place.
Yeah.
Beautiful place. I never kind of did the traveling thing there as a lot of people my age. I always went to places where there were mountains.
Yeah, right. Well,
Yeah.
you'd probably fit in Perth. You haven't been to Perth, have you?
I've
In
not
Western
known.
Australia, because there's a lot of British people there. They're sort of
So
invading that area.
Yeah, so I hear, and listen, who can blame them? I mean, everybody out here, honestly, really, it's a joke here at the moment. I thought when I was younger, I'm 64 this year. I thought when I was younger, by now I would be living, I would have probably even maybe thought of retiring outside of the country. I've got big connections in India and Nepal.
Really?
I thought that, I thought I'd probably end up there. Nepal, because as I mentioned just now, I mean, I love walking, climbing in the mountains, and I
Yeah,
have done all my life. I mean, that's when I was a younger man. That's why I worked, for plane tickets, really.
I couldn't agree more. I'm the
You
same.
know, yeah, that's why I did it. And so whenever I could, I was away there, and also I've got some friends who, I mean, I've been going to India since the early '80s. And I'm amazed at the way it's changed there, and I love the way it's changed. I love the way that people have got more. Yeah, people have holidays now. Yeah, I mean, I know that sounds like a weird thing, but there's a middle class that takes its family away to the coast, and there's a different kind of structure. And I'm not wishing like globalization on anybody, but in India certainly, I've watched friends become affluent and
Mm.
placed them to travel and be able to educate themselves and stuff over there. So I like what's happened there. I've got very, very dear family and friends in Goa and Kerala. So I thought I might end up over there, but just
So
I'm,
that's where the connections lie with family and that sort of thing,
yeah.
not business.
Not really. No, I mean, so I've done a little bit of work in Nepal. I never broke into Bollywood.
Yeah.
I did get offered a film down there, but I was committed to do something else. When I was in Goa, and a very dear friend of mine, his family are kind of the main set builders for the Bollywood film industry, and they were all down there at this big wedding, one of the best parties I've ever been to, I have to say. It was amazing over about 6 days. And
Mm.
one of the guys there, a filmmaker, he said, "Would you come up to Mumbai and do a film?" And I said, "I'd really love to, but I've got to be home tomorrow. I've got work. So you never know. I mean, I'm not too old for a crack at the title.
Well, you mentioned retiring, but you strike me as a fella that just will never retire because you love it so much.
It's kind of, yeah. I figured, I think, from an early age, one of the things I love about my job is the fact that you don't ever have to retire, as long as I'm not visibly dribbling, or like kind of I can still walk, and they'll wheel me out because I've got now nearly 40 years experience. So there is that, and you're right. There is something about this job in all its forms which keep you going. I did a theatre thing in the West End about 5 years ago now, and two of the cast they were both 84 years of age, and it was a Brecht, so it was it wasn't they weren't doing bit parts,
Mm.
I remember one of the cast said to them, you know, how do you keep so young? And they both kind of turned around and said, well, it's this job, you fool. Because inside the theatre, so particularly in theatre, but, you know, sort of throughout the job, I mean, but particularly in theatre, there's no kind of hierarchy. Once you're in a rehearsal room, you are as old as, or as young as, or as experienced as everybody else. There's a kind of egalitarian way. You all have to get the show together. You all have to do these things together. It's a team game. And so I think it keeps you young. I mean, I've been, since lockdown, a friend of mine has opened a very, very good drama school here in Liverpool, drama, dance and fashion, would you believe? And I've been working with the intensive, the people who are doing diplomas, like, so age 16 to 19. I've been working with them and getting so much from it. You know, sort of not so much teaching them to act, they can make those decisions themselves, but teaching them the other stuff around the job, like being able to research, being able to understand the broader, you know, critical thinking about what the job requires, and being able to kind of break things down rather than just think me, which this generation does. I'll do that. And I've been getting so much from it, and I can understand what those guys said now about it just keeps you young. I mean, once we're in the rehearsal room, we are. I mean, I suppose there's a hierarchy from the point of view of I will be directing. But if working in there as an actor, there's really no hierarchy.
Do you find yourself as a mentor to those young drama students?
I suppose I am in a way, but I don't set out to be so, if that makes sense. You know, I mean, I would rather be, I'm a colleague. I view it as a colleague. I mean, sort of, if I've worked with people who are younger than that, both being paid, you know, on a job. I've worked with people than that. So I view them as colleagues, really. That's the way that I try to get it across to them, because, you know, reasonably speaking, we could be working together professionally next week. For any random reasons. And so I treat them as colleagues rather than mentor. And I suppose in the workplace, in any workplace, you have people who are more experienced and less experienced. I remember when I was the youngest, and now I'm, you know, not always the oldest, but up there. You know.
But it's not possible for someone younger than you to have more experience than you in this industry, is it? Or is that possible?
I think so, yeah. I mean, it depends on the genres. There are people who are younger than me who've done 50, 60 films. They would be experienced in that. Put them in a theatre, I would probably wipe the floor with them. Or you understand what I mean? Yeah. It's just because that's where you put them in a theatre, or maybe even on television. You know, if you want to play it like that. So I think
depends on the field, you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, miles on the clock, I suppose. You know, it'd be very difficult for that kind of a younger person. But in terms of experience, the job and all its different facets come with slightly different skills.
Now, you're an older brother to four, right? Or you're the fourth of What was that?
I'm the eldest, and there are three brothers and a sister below me. Yeah.
And I believe a lot of them are in the business as well.
Yeah, absolute lack of imagination. My three brothers are all actors. Paul, the next brother down from me, is very well known. He was the 8th Doctor Who.
Oh yeah, they're just like Elden Ring fans, Doctor Who fans. They're
the Whovians. Yeah, absolutely. and the next brother down, Mark, is very, very, very well known. He played John Lennon. And in a big CBS love story. He's known kind of worldwide for that, as well as many, many other things. For my money, the best actor in the family. And then my younger brother, Stephen, is currently Dr. Turner in Call the Midwife, which is like a worldwide phenomenon.
So you've all turned out to be successful. I think so. I don't know whether I'm more by luck than good judgment, and that's not a false modesty. It's just, I think, a great deal to do with the time that we came into the industry. In the 70s in Liverpool, 60s and 70s in Liverpool, I mean, sort of the kind of hangover from the cultural kind of effect of the Beatles, or some people say. But at that time, also in the culture here, the working class were getting some kind of credence. You'd had the kitchen sink dramas, you'd had this kind of thing. And so they were looking for more authentic voices. We are inner city kids. We, got grammar school educations. We all won scholarships and stuff like that. But it was a time in Liverpool then where
mean, none of my mates ever took the mickey. You'd be playing football with some mates. We'd be at the boxing club with other mates. They would never take the mickey if you said you wanted to go to the theatre and be the actor or be a musician.
They were supportive.
Culture in this city wasn't like that. Some other cleverer people than me have said it's because there's a predominantly immigrant culture here, whether it be the Irish influx from the potato famine. Most people in Liverpool have an Irish name, if not Irish, Chinese. We've got a huge Chinese population, and then West African, West Indian. So what you have, where there are lots of displaced people, is this kind of ambition, or it's just a kind of, it doesn't have to be a targeted ambition. It's just do better than we did.
Well, yeah,
it's an encouraging thing, you know.
I was watching an interview of you, and you said this was years ago, and you said you didn't feel like you had any limit to your ambition, you know, sort of.
No, absolutely. Then it seemed that everything. I mean, sort of bear in mind as well. This was the 60s and 70s. It was a boom time. It seemed like anything was possible. Yeah, I mean, you learn later that
not quite the case. Yeah.
Well, you temper that idea, but looking back still, I mean, I can understand why not just I felt like that, but lots of people did. The many things that changed and liberated. I mean, I'm a boomer. That was kind of probably peak boomer, wasn't it? You know, the 70s, everyone was getting free education, you know, sort of like kind of there were plenty of jobs. There were people like me, like kind of, there was the social mobility of somebody like me from the working class being able to get into the theatre, get into these jobs, which are traditionally middle class, and I've gone back to being that way. If you look at all the kind of actors now, they're all Etonians or Harrovians. And rather in those places have become like finishing schools. They're like, you know, for posh people, who can't get into the city, so they go into acting. You know, to an extent, you know. So, and some of these are my friends. So
so you're allowed to say.
I'm allowed to say it. Yeah, you know, sort of whatever. I'm too long in the tooth now not to say it. These are facts. You know, and I, like anything, it's cyclical. History is cyclical. It'll come back. You know, sort of sometime within the next 15, 20 years, there'll be another breakthrough, and they'll want the authentic kind of working class or whatever. You know, mores shift, don't they, all the time?
So, how do you feel to be the best actor of the brothers and the best looking? How does that feel?
I'm not laying claim to either of those. By the way, people used to say to me, you know, sort of, well, you know, because you're the eldest, were you the first? And I'm saying I'm not taking responsibility for those people. You would have to understand it again, not to put in all seriousness. The time was so kind of, it was so possible. Things were so possible that, you know, I left home and Liverpool very early on. I mean, a combination of wanting to be an actor and also kind of falling into the music business. I had a little bit of a music career as well. But behind me, you know, sort of Mark and Stephen both went to the Everyman Youth Theatre, which is where I started out. But they were there at the same time as other fine actors like David Morrissey and Ian Hart. These are household names now. These are a guy from the Waking Dead, and Ian Hart is in the Harry Potter movies. You know, we were all from the same streets. We were all from the same place. And so there were all of this kind of surge going on. So they had their own way of making it. It wasn't anything I did. You know, sort of other people, maybe a year ahead or two ahead of me, maybe they did bust a hole in the ceiling and left a ladder for us to come through. Like I said, that hole is all but closed now again. But there we are. You know.
Do you think it'll open up in the future?
I think it's only from the point of view, you know, it's like you get to an age where you realize history is cyclical. You know, if you stand still long enough, you come back into fashion. Do you know what I mean? Kind of history eventually catches up to you. You know, sort of the music you like comes back into the fashion. We go around. There's nothing new under the sun, as many people have said. So yeah, it will come back. The stories we want changed. At the moment, everybody's fascinated by posh people, aren't they, in terms of the international kind of film, or certainly the output that comes from this country. What they want is Bridgerton, and what they want is what's it called, Downton Abbey. That's what they see. It's all in English. You know, British people. That's what they are. We're all related to the Queen.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Well, you know, so times change, but I think the fact that these little islands here still kind of punch above their weight in the industries. I mean, the films like, places like Pinewood and stuff, the film industry here, the acting profession here still kind of provides more than its fair share, if you like. It punches above its weight in terms of like kind of globally. And long may that last, like I said, because there's always time for a crack at the title.
So talk to me, because with a voice like that, I'm shocked that you haven't done more video games or voice work that I've heard anyway. I'm sure you have, but tell me how you got into that. Is this a new thing for you, or is it?
Certainly the game side. I actually tried to get into it because I, sort of hearing a few friends of mine. I got a guy who came up to the Liverpool game last week. He's a Tottenham supporter. He's in Equity, the union. He's in charge of kind of the voice side of it, and we're all friends. And so I knew things were happening. I also know that now one of the things they've done, because video games, while with the huge budgets that they had, these games, the huge budgets they had, they weren't paying very well, and it's a lot of work. They really weren't paying very well as far as people were going a couple of years ago. I'm not saying I got any of this, but it was exploitative, and so the unions
even only recently.
Yeah.
Okay.
The union have only just agreed different fees.
Right.
Sort of kind of which are different deals, which are kind of putting this back in place. I suppose one of the reasons I mean, over the years, I've done the voices for, little bits and pieces, going back to Cosgrove Hall days. This is going back to the 90s. I did the voice for the lead character in a Terry Pratchett thing called Truckers, which wasn't terribly well received. I mean, a few years later, it might well have done, but
yeah,
I had done an interview on the radio about a BBC drama series that I was doing, and Lee Cosgrove from Cosgrove Hall, the animators, got in touch with my agent and just said, "I've just heard Joe McGann on the radio. He's the voice of my hero." That was the first time I'd ever considered, that I had a commodity, as it were, or that could be a string to the bow. I was doing well in the theatre. I was doing, like I said, a bit of a music thing. I still do the occasional musical. I still do those kind of things. But because I was so busy in the theatre, and because most of the time theatre work involves touring,
you can't do TV or film.
No, and you can't do voice work because they have to,
right.
Right. TV and film slightly different. You can kind of schedule around, but voice work.
Okay, right.
They want to either be in one place for a certain amount of time. But over the years, I mean, between me and my brother Paul, we have a fair output in terms of doing like voices for documentaries, documentaries and things like that. They're good. I'm the voice on 2 or 3 regular TV ads. So
you're doing.
They are out there, but until I tipped my hat at this, and my agents would back me up, where I just said, look, a lot of these video games. I mean, I'm not a huge player myself. I remember playing Doom years ago and like kind of getting way into that. But since then, I'm a kind of dilettante. I watch other people do it. But a lot of my friends are into these things. And I was thinking, and I was hearing more and more of actor friends kind of getting these jobs. I thought that sounds like fun. Inventing somebody like or doing it like, because it takes working days. About 6 or 7 working days in total to do something like Gideon Ofnir, so and that's 8-hour days. So you're in these studios, but you're inventing characters and with your voice. And if you've got a good director and you've got a good relationship with the people that are around you, it's every bit as exciting as inventing a new character for a visual character. It's the same job is what I believe. And I think that's what got me this gig, because my voiceover agent told me about the Elden Rings going on. I said, no, I've heard of that. And I know all my mates are dying to see this. And there was a casting. I went in for something else. I went in for casting for just to do, I think, a gang of different voices, incidental.
Right, yeah.
They sent me down to this. There's a lovely production company called Liquid Violet who did this.
I've heard great things on this show about them.
They're delightful, absolutely delightful. And I walked into their offices and it was a kind of audition tape.
Really?
Kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely. And I said, yeah, absolutely. I'm fine to do it. I'd love to do that. I'd like to kind of break into these games. I ended up chatting with them, la la la. And then thought no more of it. Didn't hear anything for a couple of weeks. And in fact, it was slightly longer than that. It was probably about a month or so that I didn't hear anything.
So does that mean you think it's gone after a month?
Yeah, that's the way you have to think. You can't just be done. That's the way you have to think. Let it go.
Yeah.
Once you do it, let it go, because otherwise you drive yourself mad.
That's what I tell my brother, because he's trying to be an actor as well. He's in the business.
You've got to let it go. You really have. Give it out there. Give it your best shot, and then there's nothing you can do from that point. Wishing won't help. Nothing will help. Praying, nothing. You just leave it.
Yeah.
You just, you really have. And then lo and behold, a few weeks comes back, and Alex, the director, kind of gets back in touch with my agents and says, because I think I'm right to say that they'd gone a little bit way down the line with an actor or a characterization that wasn't working.
Yeah.
And I'd given them something during this audition, which I didn't know then was going to be Gideon Ofnir, but he really liked it.
Wow.
And he kind of came back and said to me, and I went back to Liquid Violet, and he said, "Do you remember that?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you mind if we try it with this?" I said, "Not at all." And that's how we did it. And he was very, very good. Sometimes you get good direction. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's absolutely wishy-washy. And he was very, very good. And not only that, it was a strange situation, because remember, we're in lockdown as well. So not talking to anybody outside, everything's being disinfected. And also I'm on video link to the director, who's not in the studio. I can see the engineer, Max, who's in there, who's excellent, sort of in there. And then we've got two people from Japan, the director and his assistants.
Miyazaki.
Then,
yeah,
exactly. And then we got a Japanese English translator, if they want to do things. And
hell of a process, isn't it?
Yeah, all of that. And so it's like, I've been in theatres with smaller audiences.
That's not a joke, is it?
No, I'm telling you, Tuesday night in Lowestoft. No, you don't want to know. And so you find it becomes a little bit performative. It becomes a little bit, I want to do this well, and I want to get it right. And I've always had success in my career where I've admitted that I'm learning rather than admitted that I know it all. And so I made no bones to anyone. I said, look, I don't know what it is you require. I haven't got the experience to go. So please bear with me. Explain it to me as clearly as you can, and I'll do it till we get it right. I said, I haven't come with a preconceived idea about how I want you to receive it. I just want to get it right. And that seems to be getting well received, and you learn.
You got to be honest, don't you? That's the best way to move forward, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Far too many people guff it out, don't they? Sort of thinking, oh yes, I know that. The old trick about an actor, can you ride a horse? Yeah.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, I'll do this, that. Yeah.
It's
shout out to Hannah, by the way. She's the casting director at Liquid Violet. I don't know if you met her, but she does watch.
I did actually. Yeah. Really, really, really good company to work with. Can't praise them highly enough. I was sad I couldn't make their party. As luck would have it, they had a party and I had another job.
Oh, So first video game, how does it all feel after those sessions? Are you proud of your work? Because I got to say, mate,
I am actually. Yeah, I am. I'm proud of the whole thing because, like I say, going into it with learning in mind, and also like talking to my own voiceover agents and talking to like other people. She kind of put me in touch with like kind of people inside the agency who knew about this field in this area, and I feel that I've been learning, and I'm proud of it from a point of view of it's the first time I've had to kind of invent a whole character inside the game. I've done a few and noises off and like kind of little bits and pieces here and there, because I'm quick in the booths. I'm known as that. But this was a really, really good process. And it's kind of amusing, I went round to see a friend of mine a few weeks ago now, and he was like, we're doing a short film together. He's writing a film, and he normally he trains MMA fighters.
Wow.
So, fitness, that's what he does. And one of them asked, as a friend, I'd come busting out of his bedroom at like 4 a.m. because he just got to my voice on Elden Ring. And he's like, I've seen Joe. I've got you. And so they were in hysterics. And so that kind of thing's happening, you know. And like you say, I mean, it's rather like the Whovians. I mean, who knew? You know, I'm getting mail and getting things on Instagram and that from a whole new audience is one way to look at it. But you know, gamers, who knew? I've not broken into it before.
What are they saying, by the way? What are they saying?
They just love it. You know, they're just loving it. And, you know, they say Gideon Ofnir. Some of them say things I don't understand, I have to say. I don't know. I don't recognize all the slang. I just, and it's, you know, I don't think I'm supposed to at my age. Do you know what
just
I mean?
palm them off to me.
I will do. But it's just being nice for the most part. Just being like kind of just in passing, really love your work in this, you know, and you think, wow. One can be oblivious to all of this, but it's nice when you get positive feedback. Yeah, we mentioned before, and as your brother will know about it, you know, sort of this is a job where you have to become inured to rejection. So it's kind of nice when you get the praise. It's kind of nice when you get unsolicited compliments. It kind of goes some way to balancing it.
Well, I was even looking at some old clips of yours from some of your classic TV shows. And the fandom goes so far that you look at the comments and it's Sir Gideon Ofnir in the comments of those old school clips. You know,
I noticed it, and on Twitter, you know, like kind of, it's just it's the strangest thing, because I mean I think that people thought they seem to think a friend of mine, Sean Bean, people thought I was Sean Bean at one point. Thought Sean
I did
Bean
hear that. I heard someone say that. Yeah.
Who I know, he was at Rod at the same time as my brother.
Oh wow!
Yeah, back in the day. Yeah. So yeah, it's odd. It opens up a whole new kind of sphere. Also, I don't know whether you know, there's a kind of crossover coming in movies now where it kind of it had a kind of a bit of an injection in lockdown. People are making movies more akin to the gaming or social media experience. What I mean is like the platform crossing. So you're seeing whole plots taking place within a game or stuff. You know, look at the real world. I mean, I've got a friend who's divorced from his wife, a very, very bad, very difficult divorce. He now has a life with his kid because they play games online. They spend a long time. They spend all of his contact comes to this, and he loves it. I've watched him go from being really depressed about not being able to see his son to like actually cool with it. And he's become a pretty good gamer himself, actually. You know,
that's good. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, it's crossing over into the main. Well, it's not all of these different streams are coming to a confluence. And as I said before, you know, the best thing about the human experience, really, we're at our best human beings when we're learning. That's, you know, it's when the learning curve is perpendicular to the ground. That's when we all come online or run away. You know, I like to learn, and what I'm learning about this whole world at the moment is making me happy. It's good.
I want to read out some fan comments to you, all right, that you might not have heard.
Okay.
We'll start off with Connor. He says, Gideon was a grump and an ass, but I still kind of love him.
That's what he was supposed to be. You know what? Imagine, you know, one of those old soldiers. This is what me and the director talked about. One of those old soldiers you can't crack a smile out of, but you respect anyway. Even when he says funny things, he says it with a scowl. You know what I mean? But it's miles on the clock. And eventually, eventually those people, when you kind of get past your own prejudices, you realize that they just haven't got time to be anything else other than straight. That's what the grumpiness is. They're not dressing it up, you know. I'll take that as a compliment.
Oh, these are all compliments, by the way. Beaumont, fair play to the voice actor. Sir Gideon has an amazing voice. Studio here says, Gideon's voice actor is one of the best I've ever heard. I could listen to him all day. Such a soothing sound to his manner of speaking.
That's very kind, isn't it? Yeah. I'm going to send that one to my voiceover agent.
Yeah, please use all these. Hejera, wait, so you're telling me that Sir Gideon Ofnir went to the same university as me, and yet I'm not all-knowing? Now, that was on a university clip where you were speaking.
I wasn't.
From a couple of years ago.
I was speaking at university. I've got honorary degrees, but I never went to university.
Oh, well, there you go.
I've got 2 honorary degrees now, but over the years, no, I've done all my learning on the job, as it were. Like I say, so I'm autodidact. I tried to do things a couple of times, going back, or Open University and stuff, but never had the time. My job always takes me away. One thing, you book a holiday, I'll get a job and lose the deposit. That's what happens.
Oh, it's just the business you're in. DZO, this voice acting is God tier. Gino Scraps, Queen Marika has high hopes for us that we continue to struggle unto eternity. That is my favorite line from Gideon, and probably the best in the game. Do you remember doing that line? That was one.
I do remember some of those lines. What was good in terms of the character development, if you will, sort of, and of course you see it. I mean, huge list of cues. It's how you see. You don't see a script. You see a huge list of cues of all kinds of different things. But they're linear for the most part. You're not going back. So I knew that there would be a point. Obviously, it makes sense, doesn't it? Because you want the gamer to kind of earn a reward. You want them to be making something. So you're developing a relationship. And like I say, the director, Alex, he was really, really good saying, well, look, you're respecting this person a little bit more now. He would just be able to drop in really, really apposite, like little notes. He made it very easy, I've got to say, to kind of do those things.
Did he mention that you were going to be sort of conniving in a way at all towards?
Oh yeah, we spoke about that. We knew that you have to be able to kind of. It's about exposition. It's about letting out what you are, slowly kind of reeling it out at your own rate, rather than the gamer being able to second guess.
I noticed that. There's just small little hints that you wouldn't pick up until you've already seen it, if you know what I mean.
That's it.
Yeah. Like anything good. So what's Charlie Burrows in Upper Hand versus Gideon? Pretty different characters, aren't they?
They are. Well, Charlie is probably more of a fantasy character than
what,
Gideon.
You reckon?
Well, yeah, because a man who can do all of that housework, the perfect man. He's more of a. He definitely is more of a fantasy. That's the whole idea. The whole idea of 100%. Absolutely, it's the perfect man. It doesn't exist. So I can imagine somebody like Gideon Ofnir more than I can imagine somebody like Charlie.
So, what's something that surprised you about this voice acting gig? Was there something that sort of just struck you like, wow, I didn't know that was how it goes, or anything of that nature?
Well, all of it in a way, like I said, because I admit to kind of, trying to push out all my preconceived ideas.
Yeah.
I do hope that, sort of given the experience with Liquid Violet and with the whole team on this, I hope I've not been spoiled. Because this was a really, this is a really, really good working atmosphere. They allowed us to be creative. They were understanding, sort of all of these things. There was no hysterics around it. And, the logistics, like I described earlier on, talking in 5 different countries at any one time. And yet it was easy. And I haven't been in anything involving production for quite a long time that was as easy and as well thought out and as functional and as efficient as this was. So that's what was, it's not, anybody who's been in production knows that you're always, to an element, flying by the seat of your pants, always. That's the very nature of it, With this, it never felt like that even for a second.
Wow. So incredible. Just a well-oiled machine. Yeah.
Unbelievably well thought out and well done. And not only that, polite, decent people at every interface was good. You can't often say that. You really can't.
And I hear that a lot about voice acting, especially in games. Especially recently. Yeah, just the people seem to be the standout. Maybe Absolutely. Not even the process, just the people. Yeah.
I think it requires something. I've got friends, actors who I work with in the theatre over the years, and we've stayed over the years, who've now become specialists in animation and stuff like that. Other people like that, and they've been telling me this here and there. They've been saying, "Oh, well, it becomes like a family." These guys who do like children's cartoons, or the people who do like these games, and they are like little families, and they look out for each other, and they can kind of say, "Oh, so and so can't make it today, but I've phoned so and so, and they can do their bit now." And okay, it's all like that. And I wonder why it is, whether it's the fact that there's no. I heard a description about like kind of what a dressing room can be like, and when you get like kind of people, the clashing of cheekbones can be heard down the street. You know what I mean? But like because there's no visual aspect to it.
Interesting.
I wonder. So it's just a voice. So it could be coming from anything. So the people in the room are less worried about what they're wearing, what they're driving. Perhaps it's that. I don't know.
I hear that a lot too. It's a mind thing. Yeah.
It's been my experience. I do a lot. I do talking books as well. And the way I went into kind of learning talking books,
audio books.
Audio books. Yeah. I went to the Royal National Institute for the Blind in Camden Town in London, and they have this amazing suite of about 20 voiceover studios, where you can go in and you do all the books, obviously for the blind, but they hire it out. But a way to learn it is you can go in there and they will pay you like a lower rate fee to read books for the blind. And so you learn about the process, about how still you have to be, about how sensitive the microphones are, about you have to be able to do a characterization, for instance, without waving your arms around. That's anathema to most actors, including me. I had to learn to do it. You have to learn to eat. One of the strange things, you have to learn to eat at the right time. Because I lost a whole session once because my stomach was grumbling.
Really?
And the mic was picking it up.
That's bizarre.
We were trying to stop it. I was clutching a pillow, all of this, but no, man.
I've never heard that before. That's crazy.
Well, yeah, 3-hour session went down the pan.
Shit.
Because it was in my stomach all the time.
Well, was it a good meal though?
Well, I'd missed one, hadn't I? I mean, I missed my porridge, I think it was, or whatever it was. It was the first thing in the morning. So, you learn these different things, It's,
right. So you were hungry. Sorry. You'd missed a meal.
I'd missed a meal, yeah. I'd missed a meal, yeah. Right. So there's all, and inside there, again, I found, which can't be said about a lot of the rest of my job, but I found people who are willing to share their knowledge, their time, their expertise, really just like that. And so, I think possibly thus far, my experience in the voice side of things is a much more, how can I put it, much less fraught than on the other side, than on the visual side.
So after you say all that, I'm guessing you're looking to do more of this work now.
Yeah, I am. I'm with my agent, and I think there's a little bit of interest. There's another project going on, which they're calling it the Amiga project at the moment. I don't think that's what it's going to end up as. Yeah, I think it's all a bit hush hush. But we've been doing like little tests for that, and little characterizations, little things for that. So, again, I was in the studio the other day. Half an hour of the thing was different noises of dying and different noises of sword fighting and things like this. So. Who knew you could get so much variation? Listen, they pay me for it. So
yeah.
And we'll see where that goes. Like I say, I'll push that to the back of my mind, and we'll see what it goes. But I now know that on my voiceover reel with my voiceover agent, besides me having this kind of, well, I'm known for having a warm, kind of friendly northern voice here. I've now got this other string to my bow. I've now got this what do they call it? USP, which is
yeah. You got a few. I know you've got a big range, but you're just strengthening it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And keep learning, keep going forward, keep the curiosity going. It's the stuff that I'm very lucky as an actor. I get to kind of, to an extent, in one way, I'm lucky. I've turned down 2 jobs this month, for instance. So I turned down, jobs which are offers. I turned them down, I know I'm not making big of it. You know, other actors would kill for it. I know that. I'm lucky. But the reason I turned them down was there's nothing in it for me. I know they're going to pay me, but I've done the kind of thing before that they were asking. There's nothing in it for me. And so did I really want to go away on tour or go away, you know, for 3 months away from where I am now, from the home and from my partner? And I thought, nah. Were I a single man and I didn't have a nice place to be, then I might have taken those jobs.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm lucky that, and I'm still learning. And so this, you know, we're just about to start having some renovations done to the house where we are at the moment. And I'm putting a little room in for my own studio at home.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I'm finally going to plump for that, you know, so that will bring more work in.
Oh.
You know, so
I can only imagine the work you're going to get, because look, I'm not just saying it because you're here. I truly believe you put on the best performance in Elden Ring, and I'm not the only one that thinks that. So I just want to say that to you as well, mate. I think it was really just perfect, really.
Thank you, Dan. Yeah. No, I'm like I say, I'm proud of it. You know, sort of, I'm proud of how it comes together. I'm proud to be part of a process. It's like I said before, this is a team game. You know, and all those people from different countries having little kind of huddles over one word or one attitude, one take, one performance. And so it's, you know, it wasn't just my decisions. It was like kind of the actor's job is to pull all the ideas together and do something that kind of fits in with what they desire. But they were all so clear and they were so driven. And like I said, I was impressed by the level of organization and exchange of information without there being any kind of row.
Yeah.
Without there being any kind of any difficulty that was there, they would they would put that aside to one person. We would carry on with the job in the manner and come back to it later. Beautiful.
Just quickly, how did, I know you know the voice is similar to yours, but how did you find that tone and that voice of Gideon? Was there anything you had to do, or did it just come naturally in that audition?
What I asked with the director, I said, well, you know, because I've got quite a big voice, man, and it's big and it's you know, it's a chest voice rather than a diaphragm voice. It's all here. And so what anyone who's like worked with microphones or worked with audio knows that what it's best to have is like a lot of power in reserve, but you don't use it. You're not using volume. What you're using is what you want people to hear the range without actually being affronted by it. So what I'm trying to say is we decided that he would have this kind of theatrical notion to his voice and all of that kind of thing. But we would be near the mic so that I could do it quietly, so that it wasn't like
right.
So that's what we did. So most of what I'm doing is the microphone is like really, really close. I'm standing.
Really? Right.
I'm standing. And we're going slightly to the side so we don't pop slightly to the side of the mic. So, and that's what gives you that. And because you're hearing all of the chest as well, I think that's what
it's fascinating.
That's what gives you that kind of intimacy. If it feels like he's around us. So that was an interesting find. And that was more to do with, like I say, being encouraged by the director, you know, who must have been dealing with, think of all the people he was dealing with, and he was having to be at home isolated and going in. And again, you know, kudos to them all. It really was a good experience.
So we are going to see you in more games, hopefully, right?
Oh, most definitely. Definitely. I shall sack my agents if we don't.
Now, quickly, I did want to ask you, because I know you love your theatre, love all that. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about one particular play, the Elf play. What was that like?
You know what? I got the loveliest note from the producer of that the other day. We did a TV special, a Channel 5 special. You can find it on YouTube.
Yeah.
I always loved the Elf story. That job, that little job, and all of the people in it. We did it over 3 years. 3 years. He tried it out in Dublin. Then we did a record-breaking run in the West End of London, and then we went up and did it in a huge theatre up in the north here, Manchester.
Yeah.
He kept the same people on all the time, or the two, Michael Rose and David Morgan. They kept all the same people, all the same company. Everybody worked really hard. It was one of those situations where there was no hierarchies. There was nothing. I got one of the nicest notes I've ever had from a producer. In fact, probably the nicest.
Wow.
Michael, this was just 3-4 days ago. He said he'd finally he finally watched the Elf, the TV special. And then he went on to be really complimentary about me, which I won't do because it'd be embarrassing, but it was just the loveliest letter. And testament to, again, every single member of the chorus, every single member who was on that team, it was just a bonding exercise. It's a joy. I don't know if you get a chance to see the musical, do, because I loved the film. People are ambivalent about musicals, and sometimes you think, oh, I hope they don't ruin it. But what they did with Elf musical is they kind of went back to like an old-fashioned Broadway jazz swing score.
Nice, yeah.
And it is sensational. And the production values were superb.
Yeah,
find pictures online. It was an absolute joy. Funny little thing, just in Manchester, just as we were coming towards the end of the last run, I get a call from my agent. Can you go meet Sting?
I was going to ask you about this. Yeah. Tell me the story.
Can you go and meet Sting? And I said, well, when does he want to meet? And he said, 9:00 tomorrow morning. I said, look, with respect, I've got 2 shows of Elf. And I said, and to get from where I am to meet him, I said, well, he's going to be in Manchester only for that day. I said, well, if this is 9:00 in the morning, surely he's coming into Manchester the night before. And I said, so, can't we meet then? Kind of thing. I said, it was about a job that I'd already done, the singing audition for. It was about called The Last Ship, which it's very close to Sting's heart, and it's his music and all of this.
Right.
And so anyway, so I get back and I said this to my mate. He said, "What, you just turned Sting down?" And I went, "Well," I said, "Didn't turn him down." I said, "If he's any kind of professional, he'll understand that I don't want to jeopardize what we're all doing here by going there." And
fair enough. Yeah, of course. Can't be selfish.
Anyway, he calls back and says, "Oh yeah, I'll pop in to see the show." Elf.
Oh, bit more pressure that night.
I casually dropped it into backstage.
Yeah.
So Sting's coming to me. Whatever. And then it happens. So he gets into the airport and he's arrived for the last 45 minutes of the show. So that's pretty much the second half of the show. And then we're getting the reports because the spies and Sting's in. Well, I told you he was coming and stuff. Anyway, in my dressing room, I'd sadly not here. You would have met her otherwise. She died just recently. I had a little dachshund called Minnie, who was everywhere with me. So in my dressing room, there's me and Minnie. Come off stage, and then the tannoy goes, "Yeah, visitors for you, Mr. McGann." So Sting comes in, and the producer, and another guy with a guitar, into the dressing room. And of course, I've left the door open a little crack, and all of the cast are walking past really slowly. See who's there. But, it was one of those odd experiences because, like I say, it was, jazz swing, and what we were doing with Sting is like kind of a hybrid folk thing. Fantastic music. And so in my dressing room afterwards, he auditioned me. Sting gets his guitar out. I thought this other guy was the guitarist.
That is crazy.
And it's Sting, and I'm still in. If you see the finale,
you're not in the outfit, are you? Are you really?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all sparkle, jolly, twinkle, jingle.
That is fantastic.
And anyway, I get the job as well. So I ended up doing that job with Sting. And
so was he the producer or something on that? Was he?
He wrote all the music. He was he was a kind of co-producer, but it was his baby.
Yeah, right.
Very much his baby. It had. They tried out a version of the show on Broadway, and it hadn't worked. And so they wanted to kind of redo it. I mean, obviously the music was the same, but they wanted to kind of restage it, absolutely do a different story. And so they came to me to play this part of Jackie White, which I love doing, and some of the best music I've ever heard on stage. I mean, 18, 20 voice choral arrangements, which were just to die for. And also they pulled in a visual effects company, which made the set incredible, like projected videos. There was something like between 34 and 40 video cameras. So we were able to do things like change the perspective of the audience. So 1 minute you'd be looking at the top of the shipyard walls, and then they would video it like that. So the perspective would be where you'd be looking over the wall.
Oh,
That's
wow.
just with,
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the launch of a ship took place.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it was a great pleasure to be involved with that, and got to tour and sing with Sting as well. Sing with Sting.
Not bad. I was listening to him the other day. He's has a magical voice, doesn't he? That's for sure.
He still does, and it's still the same voice. And he's still the same man. He's still like kind of, he's infected with music. Like people like he's got the funk. He's just absolutely it's in everything that he does. Yeah. But he was really generous. When we were in rehearsals, we had like kind of about 5 weeks rehearsals because it's, like I say, complicated stuff. But he would change the arrangements of whole songs to make people's performances better, to highlight it better. And he was there every single day of rehearsal.
Really? Wow.
Oh God. And in the corner doing his like Financial Times crossword or coming in and standing on the floor and doing it with you, sort of like kind of saying this. And like I say, not scared to go, that doesn't work. Go home, him and his musical partner, and like kind of they change it, bring it back to you the next day. That's there's a lesson there, isn't there? You never get too complacent.
Wow. Amazing. So are there any upcoming projects you can or want to plug, Joe?
I just landed an interesting one, which looks like it's going to be fun. I don't know that much about it. I know what I'm doing in it. Yeah. It's called Kaos, Kaos. On Netflix. Yep. Kaos. It's Netflix. Yep. It's a kind of retelling of like the myths of all the Greek gods and stuff like that, but in a very modern way.
Is this a TV show?
It's Netflix.
Netflix,
Netflix.
Wow.
A big series for them.
Well, congrats.
Thank you. I'm playing Polyphemus, the guardian of the underworld.
Whoa. That sounds terrifying.
Yeah, look it up. It looks like I'm really excited about it. It looks like it's going to be a great project. I mean, I was told 2 days ago that I've been offered it, and I know, so we're still doing the deal. But look online. It's already, people are looking forward to. At the end of the same writer who did The End of the Fucking World and a couple of other really good things, and it just looks like a really interesting project. It's modern, it's fun.
Modern twist on Greek and Roman mythology.
Yeah, all of that, and like how we live now, and how different it would be where those kind of how many of our old morals and how problematic they are, right? Are to do with, we haven't re-examined all of these myths yet, have we? Do you understand what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like,
yep.
And also bear in mind that all our notions of democracy, of theatre, of course, of rhetoric, are all from that time. They were all invented in the same place around the same time in Greece. So the whole thing, the whole way we look at things, the whole way we speak about things, and this promises to kind of, tear the lid off this. Certainly, I mean, it's absolutely irreverent. I promise you that.
Shooting in London?
London and Spain.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the dates are July to December.
Shit, you're going to be busy those few months.
Please, God. From your mouth to God's lips. God's ears, rather. Yeah.
Now, before I let you go, we can find you on Twitter and Instagram, yeah? I noticed you have gone off Twitter a few times and then come back on. What makes you come back? That's what I want to know.
What makes me come back is just because I think that... because it's interesting as a study. There are people. I haven't done Facebook for a long time, and for a little while there was a lag generally in people in the business, and this shouldn't be. I wasn't hearing about things because I wasn't on Facebook.
Wow. Yeah.
People presume you're on there, or people presume, and it's similar to Twitter. I feel that I have to kind of plug in every now and then because otherwise,
just to see what's going on. Yeah.
just to see what the conversation is. Yeah, absolutely. I don't like when people dispatch. It's not a place to debate. Sadly, I love the idea of it. I was an early, I took it up early, and I thought, oh great, an open forum. We were just talking about the Greeks and all of that. That's I love the idea of classical debate. I love the idea that you and I could be absolutely vehemently opposed on certain things, but in
still get along.
It's got to be like that, hasn't it?
It's sort of a lost art in a way, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and if you read books like The Madness of Crowds or anything of Jonathan Haidt's, they're putting that firmly, the decline, certainly since 2008, firmly in the ballpark of social media. And you can see why. The way that people will speak to each other online is now creeping out into the streets. And it seems to be enough just to kind of offer an insult or offer your point of view. And well, that's what I think. And that's going to get us nowhere. I mean, that's the end of discourse. It's the end of understanding. It's the end of theatre. It's the end of acting, isn't it? Because everyone, do you know what I mean? It's like, unless it's propaganda, And I'm very much, the old adage, I don't like that you think that, but I defend you till the end. You're right to say it. I am very much in favour of free speech, but free speech that people can debate, that people can back up, they can give reasons, and also people who say these things have to recognise that other people have equal and sometimes opposite opinions, and have every right to say those too. In that world, Twitter would be great. In that world, it's fine. Insta is much less. Insta is how I keep in touch with my daughter, my friends.
Yeah.
All of the cast of Elf, for instance, are on my Twitter. And stuff like that. My close friends are in there. I don't go out to sign many people that I don't know. Most of the people on my Twitter feed are people I've worked with.
Yeah. Yeah.
On my Instagram.
On your Instagram, yeah. So we can follow. Is it just Joe McGann?
It's Joseph or Joe McGann. Yeah, I think I'm verified on both now, don't I?
Yeah. So look for the tick, and you should be able to follow him, guys. Is there anything you wanted to say to the Elden Ring fans? Because I know that they've been very happy to hear from you in the last hour.
Listen, it's been an education and it's been an honour, and I'm very flattered and very encouraged, which is a lovely feeling, sort of by the feedback. So thank you all, and let's hope I can kind of get to make some other characters for you too.
Let's hope you come back on this show for another big game, Joe.
Absolutely.
It was a pleasure to have you on, Joe. Before I let you go, is there anything Gideon Ofnir can say to Dan, to myself?
Well, I don't know. I hadn't thought of this. You caught me on the hop slightly, I suppose.
I've caught you off guard.
You have slightly, but there's a lovely line I can't remember. Are you as absolutely foolish as you appear? It's one of those things. I can't remember what it.
I can find you one if you want. Hold on.
Go on then. Yeah.
I'll get you one. Foolish as you appear. Okay, hold on. Let me find this for you.
I use utterly. It was a great put. There was a great put down in there.
Foolish as you appear.
Or perhaps it was one of the ones that didn't make it. I was looking off a script.
No, I don't think it made that. This one. There's
This might be one of the ones that was changed in the studio. Now you mention it, it probably was, because I get sent things before and then in the studio.
Yeah. I'm trying to find your final words, because they're the ones just after I killed you. Spoilers. I'm trying to see what you said. Where is it? Here we go. I commend your spirit, but alas, none shall take the throne. Here we go. A tarnish cannot become a lord, not even you. A man cannot kill a god.
Yeah. Okay. A tarnish cannot become a lord. Even you, a man, cannot kill a god.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks for indulging me there. I appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure. Listen, it was a real pleasure, man. Take it easy.
No, it really has been a pleasure, mate. Have a great day. Take care.
I'll try my very best.
Follow this man, guys.